Alright guys, lately on Facebook and all the forums and all that other kind of stuff, I have seen posts and posts and posts about how to change out the brake booster. Apparently it's more common than I thought, but I'm going to show you in this video how to do the step-by-step on how to swap out the brake booster and also all the tools that you're going to need. So today's victim is this 1976 Corvette. So the main telltale sign that you have a bad brake booster is that when you step on the brakes, you get a hissing noise, and it only happens when you step on the brakes. It won't happen when the engine's idling or anything like that. It's pretty obvious when it happens, and that's when you know you need a brake booster. I've heard of people rebuilding these things, but I just buy another one. So the little backstory on this car is that I've already replaced the booster, but this booster it's from Summit, and they said it was going to fit. I put it in. It makes the pedal way too low to the floor. There's no more adjustment. So I bought the correct one. In the middle of this video, I'll show you a side-by-side what to look for when you're getting a new booster. But to start, step one really is going to be taking your driver's side seat out. Luckily for me, this one's already loose and it'll just come right out. But that's going to be step one, is take your driver's side seat out. After you remove the seat, you're going to go over to the engine bay really quickly, and we need to disconnect the master cylinder from the brake booster. So it's fairly simple. If you do it right, you can do it where you don't need to bleed the system again and all that kind of stuff, and I'll show you how to do it. So first we have to undo the vacuum source from the booster. After that, basically, you just take your box end 9/16 wrench and you're going to loosen up both of these nuts, and then you're going to take both of them off. If you can, a quick tip is use a ratcheting wrench. It makes the work a little bit easier. That way it just ratchets off. The next step is pretty easy. Basically, you just kind of want to shimmy the master cylinder off of the booster, and just enough to make it clear the threads and kind of drop it out of the way. So these lines do have some bend to them, and it's okay to bend them. Just don't bend them a bunch. Just kind of let the master cylinder fall away like that, so you have enough room to take the booster out once you get to that point. But if you do it like this, you don't have to bleed it. And that's always a good thing. Bleeding these brakes can take a long time, especially if you're starting with air up here. It takes a while. But now we get to go to the fun part, which is underneath the dash. And this is going to be really fun to record because it's way up under there. Remember, the bolts are right here, and you have all this dash to go through. Underneath the dash, there are 5 things you need to unhook. 4 of them are the nuts that go on the studs for the back of the booster, but the 5th thing is actually the stud that goes onto the actual brake pedal. Because it's easier to see here, the way it works is you have the forks of the brake booster, and they have holes in it where this pin goes through, and the rod for the brake pedal is sandwiched in between it, and you have a clip that goes onto the end of that pin, just like this, and it holds it all together like that. And so it's easier to see out here than it is underneath the dash. This pin, or this clip, you need to move up so that it's able to be removed from the pin. So it sits in there like that. You got to move it up, and then it will come out, and then that will kind of tap out. There should be a little bit of tension on it, but really not much. Once you get that out, you're only 4 bolts away from removing the brake booster. But it's going to be the 4 most annoying bolts in the world. So I'm going to dive under here and I'm just take you guys with me. Alright. See that right there? That's one of them on the other side of the steering column. And up in the top, that's another. But you see the ones at the very, 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 very top? Those are the ones that are very difficult to get to. You can barely even see this one. I mean, they're way up there. I can barely even film them, they're so far deep in the dash. But the easiest way to do this, in my opinion, that I've found is these are half-inch bolts. So you get a deep socket because you have studs you have to go over first. Then you get one of these swivels, and then you get the longest extension you can possibly get. I like to use my little mini impact. It just zips them right on and zips them right off, and you don't have to worry about getting a ratchet under there and taking 1,000 hours to get it out. This one you just go zip, 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 and you're pretty much done. So as awkward as this is going to be, that's what I like to do. With the 4 nuts off the back studs out, the brake booster should come right out. Should. Good question. Sometimes you gotta love on it a little bit. So here's the main issue of why this aftermarket booster didn't work. If you look at the front, it's recessed in. It doesn't stick out like these two do. And this is a common mistake anybody can make, if they order off of parts and says, it fits your 76 Corvette. Yeah, it fit. Did it work right? No, not at all. You might think, oh, maybe I'll take the plunger out of this one and put it in this one. I mean, they're totally different. They really won't work. You take this one out and you stick it in here. I mean, it's too high compared to what it should look like. So there's no way that's going to work. I'm not sure if this part's right either. I believe we said it was like 6 1/4 or 6 3/4, something like that. It's about 6 inches tall, so even that is a little short by 1/4 of an inch. I probably won't go through this step by step to put everything back together, but it's just important that you pay attention to what booster you're putting in and also this length of this pin. So there's a good video, I'll put a link in the description, of how to use this nifty tool that actually came with my brake booster. I'd never seen it before, but basically you measure the depth of the bore of the master cylinder using this side, and then you come over here and then you adjust your pin to match the other side. So that way the second you touch your pedal you're actually using your brakes, which is what you want. But put this in and hopefully, I know it's going to fit because it looks just like this, but that's how to remove your brake booster, and then installing it really is just the opposite. Once you have this old brake booster out, it's important to compare it to the new one that you're going to put in. There's a lot of different brake boosters made, and you want to make sure if you spend the time to put the new one in, it's going to work. So a couple things you can just do right off the bat is measure the length of the rod that comes out at the back of the booster. So this is about 6 1/4 inches, and then this one, which is the factory one, is very, very close to that. So maybe it's about 6. Yeah, it's about 6 1/4. I know these can be adjusted. There's a little bit of adjustment here. Can make that be perfect. That small amount, 1/8 of an inch, won't make much of a difference. The other measurement you want to do is you want to measure the front, I guess, of the brake booster. So this is about, that's about 1 3/4 inches. And if we go to this one, it's also 1 3/4 inches. You want to also just eyeball the boosters side by side. Just make sure they're the same. which I know this one is because I got this one from Lone Star Caliper. They are the guys that make all the brake calipers, and they make the brake parts and stuff like that. I know that one will be good, and I know it's going to fit, but just make sure because there's a lot of generic boosters around.